The sound got quiet. It's just this overwhelming peace. And in that moment, I just got this message from God. It said, don't worry, everything's where it's supposed to be. Everything is well. Just spirits. I just felt connected to uncountable number of spirits. Behind this blue stained glass was this immense white light, just bright, a white light. I was just being drawn to the light very slowly. People, how God values people for their souls and nothing else, and there is life after death. It was September 12th, 2010. We had had a lot of rain that year, and I lived on this small river called the Blanco River. And typically we kayaked it a lot, but what we really liked to do was wait until we'd had a big rain and the river would come out of its banks, anywhere from 6 to 18 feet, and we'd wait a day or two for the water to go back down and to clear up. A lifelong friend of mine was working at the South Pole, and he was about to go back to the South Pole the week after this. And I called him up and said, hey, the river's perfect. We had a flood Thursday. Could you come down Sunday and let's run the river? On the way down to the river, my wife was telling us, to be careful as usual. And for some odd reason, I said, well, if anything happens, the will and life insurance policies are in the top drawer of the nightstand. And she's like, oh my God, what'd you say that for? And I said, I don't know. That was a poor attempt at a joke. 3/4 of the way into the trip, there is this big, flat, smooth part of water. And what it is there's a low water bridge, and it's up probably, I'm going to estimate it's probably about 7 or 8 feet tall. And the water backed up behind it. It serves kind of like a dam. And the water was about 8 or 10 inches going over the top of the bridge. And on both sides of the bridge, on the upriver side and the downriver side, there's these kind of bricks. It kind of reminds me of looking at a castle, a wall in a castle, how you have these maybe 18 inches wide and about 6 or 8 inches tall, and then gaps in between them. And basically what that's for is they put those on those bridges, so when the water's coming across the top of it, it keeps a car from sliding off the edge of the bridge. So anyway, my friend Bobby Humphreys, my lifelong buddy, goes across the bridge, and on the downriver side of the bridge, the front of his kayak hits one of those posts or blocks, and the current turns his kayak sideways, and I come in behind him, and I rammed his kayak with my kayak, and we're just a couple old buddies having a good time, and I'm like, hey, get your butt out of the way, you're holding up traffic here, and just joking around. So anyway, I stick my hands down in the water, and I push myself back, and I figure, well, I'll just push myself back and scoot over and drop off the edge of this bridge, and when I did that, I couldn't move over because the back end of my kayak had gotten stuck between two of those concrete blocks on the upriver side of the bridge. So I just decided, well, no big deal. I'll just push myself completely off the bridge and then scoot over and go around him and drop off on the other side of the bridge. And all that kind of went as planned. But when I started to go across the bridge, the nose of my kayak hit one of the blocks, and the current turned me sideways. And I'm in an open kayak, so I just figured, well, I'll hit the blocks and it'll kind of tilt my kayak up, and I'll fall off in the water and swim my kayak over to the edge of the river and get back in and keep going. And all that happened, like I thought it would, except when I fell off the kayak and I went down into the water, I got about not quite waist deep, and all of a sudden I just got jerked under the water. The only way I can describe it is if somebody just tied a winch to your ankles and just jerked you underwater. I mean, it's so strong that there's no way to swim away from it. So as I'm getting pulled into the water, underwater, all of a sudden I feel these bumps on the tops of my hand, and I recognized immediately I was inside of a corrugated pipe. And so I forced my feet down and forced my hands up. And so I started pushing forward because I felt like, that was my safest way out. And the water was so strong, I could only make these tiny little steps, like 3 or 4 inches at a time, just pushing myself forward. I get to the end of the pipe. I did get to the end of the pipe. And at this point, I'm just praying. I'm thinking about my wife and kids. I'm trying to survive. That's it. So as I'm trying to get out, all of a sudden I see this hand come through the water towards me. And it was my friend, my kayaking buddy, Bobby. And I reached up and I grabbed his hand. And I always tell people in this part of the story that there's something very, very special about the touch of another human being that is irreplaceable. You know, it gave me hope. I didn't feel like I was alone. And I thought, oh, wow, that's it. You know, all I need to do is just a good hard tug on Bobby's hand and a good hard pull with my left arm, my left hand, and I can get myself out of here. And so when I did that, I pulled Bobby's hand, hoping he was going to be pulling mine at the same time. And when I did that, my hand came apart. I lost my grip with Bobby's hand. Just all of a sudden, I felt like I was stuck inside of a bubble. And the water, the sensation of the water going over me, it just felt like I wasn't being touched by it. The sound got quiet, and it's just this overwhelming peace. And in that moment, I just got this message from God. It said, don't worry, everything's where it's supposed to be. Everything is well. And so I just gave me this overwhelming peace. And I oftentimes thought, you know, I've had thoughts about what it would be like to drown. And I always thought, you know, you would start getting kind of dazy and start fading out. And it wasn't like that for me at all. I don't know how anybody else would describe it. But for me, it was just like pure consciousness, like us visiting and talking right now, to lights out. I mean, I equate it to somebody walking over the light switch and turning the light switch off. It just went from total awareness to being in another place in an instant. And immediately when I was transported, or when I lost consciousness, I found myself in another place. And my immediate thought was, man, you got to be bad not to get here, because I didn't feel like I was that good of a person, and I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. And the reason I felt that way is that, you know, you had to be really bad not to get there, was because I just felt connected to an innumerable number of souls, just spirits. I just felt connected to uncountable number of spirits. And then the next thought I had immediately, I felt like I was looking over my shoulder, and my wife and kids were coming in behind me, just in the blink of an eye. And where I was at was, it felt like it was kind of like a tunnel. And I'm going to estimate, you know, just for definition purposes, maybe 70 yards in front of me. It was like almost like being in a long hallway. There was a blue stained glass, and it was like somebody had thrown a rock through it, and kind of to the right and down from center was a hole, but the hole wasn't round like somebody cut it out. It was like somebody threw a rock through glass, and it had jagged edges to it. And behind this blue stained glass was this immense white light, just bright, a white light. And it didn't hurt to look at it. I could look directly into it, but maybe here on Earth, if it was the same kind of light, you wouldn't be able to look into it. And it kind of looked like a kaleidoscope, a little bit like a kaleidoscope, looking at a kaleidoscope where it's kind of changing shades and stuff. And to the left of me and above my head, it was rough, like being inside a cave, but it was covered with this black, soft, like a felt or velvet. And the floor was black, just solid black marble, but it had the beams that were coming off of the light were kind of reflecting off the floor. And off to the right of me, it was just total endless darkness. Like you could stick your arm out and you would never, you wouldn't see it. It was that dark, that kind of darkness. And so I wanted to get towards the light, but I was just being drawn to the light very slowly. It wasn't like I had any control over my own movement. I didn't have the sensation of having a body. It was like a relaxation that I've never experienced here. It was like, I always tell people that, as relaxed as you can get You can still feel the touch of your clothes or what you're sitting on or laying on or even standing. This was a relaxation that didn't. It was like the loss of a body. So it was. I don't. It's hard to put into words because there's no experience that I've had here that defines that. And as I'm getting drawn towards the light, what was kind of giving it that kaleidoscope effect, as I got closer, there were people walking just left to right, right to left at different angles in front of the light. And I could see the silhouettes, but because the light was so bright, I couldn't make out who any of the people were. And as I got closer, I wanted to make out who the people were. I was interested to find out, if it was somebody I knew. Who are these people? I never could tell who they were.
You spoke about, to your right was kind of like an endless darkness. Was that darkness scary, or was it almost comforting in a way?
I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. I didn't feel any fear at all. There was no fear whatsoever. It was comforting. The whole experience was comforting.
I love that. And you spoke about how, and I love this line, like when I was looking at some of your past interviews, but you said you have to be really bad not to get here. I think some people often worry about whether their loved ones like made it to a good place. Can you just tell me more about that thought?
Like I said earlier, what gave me that feeling is just it wasn't anything visual, and it wasn't audible. Nothing was audible. But I just I was connected to all these other spirits and all these other souls. It's just a body of God, and we make up the body of God. And I think that's what it is. You just become part of that.
That's beautiful. I have so many different, and I feel like most people have different ideas of God. Often it's like a single entity, a single person. It kind of sounds like the whole experience for you was God. Would that be correct?
I wouldn't say the whole experience, because I think it was orchestrated by God, and I think God is the ultimate being that oversees it. But I felt connected to many different souls, and when I saw the silhouettes walking back and forth in front of the light, they were individuals. So it wasn't like everybody was just thrown into this mold and melted together. It was still like there was individuality, but it was all woven together. And one of my old friends, she's not here any longer, she explained it to me one day. We were talking, and she said, yeah, just like that rug on the ground. She said, it's made up of thousands of different threads, and they're all woven together to make up the rug. They all make up the rug to become the rug, but they all keep their individuality as threads. Does that make sense? And I believe we're all connected here, even on Earth. We just don't recognize it.
It's just such a visual way of thinking about that concept that's kind of hard to visualize sometimes.
Yeah.
You also talked about how, as you were leaving consciousness, you were given a message that it's going to be all right. Was that kind of just like a knowing that came over you, or did you hear a voice?
Well, like I said, and I think most people that you talk to that have had near-death experiences, very seldom do you hear anybody say that they actually heard a voice. Mm-hmm. It's like a download. It's like a transfer of information, not necessarily anything that's audible. But no, I just, and it wasn't that everything's okay. It was not just that. It was everything's where it's supposed to be. Everything's where it's supposed to be. Everything's okay. And I got the comfort that my kids and my wife would be fine with that message. So, and I think about that sometimes too. I think even in the middle of strife and chaos and stuff that goes on in the world, that there is a bigger plan and a bigger purpose that we can't see. You know, the lessons that we're learning sometimes are hard learned, you know. So maybe, you know, I mean, it's probably never going to be a big kumbaya moment for us while we're here, but there's a reason for all of it. And the love you feel over there, it's a different kind of love than you experience here, because over here I equate it to like a mother's love or to a child. You know, it's like, oh, Mike is my favorite child. I love him, but there's a couple things that he does that kind of still annoy me. There's you know, and that's somewhat conditional. Over there, it's an inclusive love that takes you for everything that you are, your good parts, your bad parts, the things that you've done that you might be ashamed of, and you're loved for all of that. There's nothing hidden. There's no you're loved without one single condition. It's a different kind of love. It's a complete, more intense love than we experience over here.
It's something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so you came back to consciousness. Can you bring me back to that moment?
Just as I was about to get close enough to distinguish who somebody was, the next thing I know is I'm staring at these rocks going in this shallow water and these rocks, and I'm going down towards them and coming back up. And what had happened is after I lost consciousness, I got forced out of the pipe, and my body went tumbling down the river in the rapids. And my friend was able to jump off of the bridge and able to get, I don't know how he did it because the rapids were pretty heavy that day. He was able to make it down the river and catch up to my body about 70 yards down the river, and was able to pull me to the edge of the shallow water. And he didn't know how to do CPR. He said my face was purple and it was swollen and my eyes were fixed open. And so he got me to the shallower part of the river, flipped me over, and he straddled me from behind, and he had his arms around me about the upper part of my stomach, lower part of my chest, and he was just raising me up and down and up and down. And it worked. It resuscitated me. And so the first thing I felt immediately when I regained consciousness was the touch of his arms around me. Like, it was just like when I touched his hand when I was in the pipe. It's just like there's nothing that replaces the touch of another human. And I think maybe that's why hugging and handshaking and all those, you know, all the things that we do are so so important, and why they're so relevant. And he just rolled me over on my back, and he was hugging me and kissing me and crying and telling me he loved me. And then he started cussing me out and screaming at me. And then he started telling me he's loving me, and he was in shock. It was going back and forth between the love and the hate. And it took him a couple of minutes to get himself together. While this was happening, I coughed up water, but not as much as you would think. I crawled up on the bank, probably got about 10 foot up on the bank, and rolled over on my back. And it was just beautiful, beautiful baby blue sky that day. And there were these little bitty white puffy clouds floating through the sky, through this background of the baby blue. And it looked like cotton balls floating across the sky. And they all looked illuminated. And I was just amazed. It was like I was looking at the sky for the first time in my life. I could not believe how beautiful it was. And I just laid there in amazement for probably 5 or 10 minutes, you know, just doing nothing but looking at the sky. And then when I finally did get to a point where I felt like I could get up, it was like I was seeing everything for the first time. I felt like I could feel the sap moving through the trees. I felt like I could feel the movement of the grass. Everything was just new to me, and everything was alive, and I felt connected to it. And at that point, I'm enjoying all of this. And at that point, we still have to kayak about another hour and a half, 2 hours down the river to get to our vehicles. We're out in the middle of nowhere. It's just ranches, and there's no houses, nothing around there. So my paddle had gotten swept downriver, and these kayak paddles, they come apart in the middle. So we broke my friend's kayak paddle down, and I took half of it, and he took half of it. And we made it down the river about 10 minutes and came up on my paddle that had been washed to the bank. And then we continued to paddle downriver about another 10 minutes. So this is about 20 minutes after we had restarted our trip. There is what they call a cowbird or a white egret, and it's flying across the river in front of me. Maybe, I don't know, just not very far in front of me. It's coming from the left side of the river, flying across the right side of the river, and it lands in this big cypress tree, like 100-foot high cypress tree. And as it's flying to that tree and then lands, the whole time it looks like it's illuminated. It looks like it has a glow to it, kind of like the clouds. And at that point, I just told, I said, God, don't let me ever change this story. Let this always be to your glory. Let this always be your story and about you. And then I turned to and I said, God, don't, however you want to use it.